You've probably heard it all before. Capricorns are serious. Capricorns are workaholics. Capricorns are emotionally distant. And while there's a grain of truth in every stereotype, what if I told you there's so much more to this sign than people realize? Because here's the thing. Most of what makes a Capricorn powerful isn't loud. It doesn't post selfies. It doesn't beg for attention. Capricorns are often the ones who sit back, observe quietly, and move strategically. You won't always notice them at first, but somehow they always end up being the backbone of every team, the quiet force behind every success, and the one person everyone turns to when things fall apart. And if you're watching this and you're not a Capricorn, keep watching, because what makes this sign so fascinating isn't just what they show the world, it's what they don't. And you might just recognize these hidden traits in yourself, no matter your sign. This video is for the thinkers, the planners, the people who hold everything together while the world falls apart. If that's you, or someone you know, you're in the right place. So before we dive deeper into the 12 hidden talents that define Capricorns in ways most never notice, take a second to subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac. We're here to uncover what the surface never shows. And while you're at it, hit that like button. It tells us you want more real, raw Zodiac content without the fluff. Ready to find out what lies beneath the surface? Let's start with 2 talents that turn Capricorn from just another Earth sign into something quietly unstoppable. Hidden talent number 2, emotional endurance. Let's start with something that almost every Capricorn does, but rarely gets credit for. Hidden talent number 1, the master strategist. Capricorns don't rush, they don't jump, they don't make loud entrances or snap decisions. They calculate. To the outside world, that can look like indecision or hesitation. But here's the secret. It's none of that. Capricorns are observing, studying, decoding. They're watching the moving parts, the hidden patterns, the potential consequences. And by the time they act, they've already played out the entire scenario in their mind. It's not overthinking, it's strategy, real strategy. The kind of thinking CEOs, chess masters, and war generals rely on. Quiet, long-term, built on foresight. You'll rarely catch a Capricorn in the middle of drama. Why? Because they saw it coming from 5 miles away and already took the detour. They knew who not to trust. They knew where not to go. And while everyone else was reacting, they were already adapting. It's not magic. It's a hidden talent built on patience, logic, and a strong internal compass. And in a world that often rewards speed over wisdom, that kind of slow, deliberate power can be invisible, but it's always working behind the scenes. What's even more impressive, most Capricorns don't even realize they do this. To them, being strategic just feels like common sense. It's not flashy, it's not for show, it's just how they operate. But that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because when a Capricorn sets a goal, they don't rely on hope. They rely on design. Everything has a reason. Every move is part of something bigger. They're building something, even when no one else sees the blueprint yet. And maybe that's the most Capricorn thing of all. Building in silence, planning in private, trusting their own timing. But while their mind is impressive, what most people miss is what's happening in their heart. Hidden talent. Number 2, emotional endurance. Let's be honest. We live in a world where emotional expression is loud. Social media rewards vulnerability, and people often wear their struggles on their sleeves. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not how Capricorns usually move. A Capricorn doesn't always say when they're hurting. They won't always tell you when they're overwhelmed, and they rarely ask for help, not because they think they're above it, but because they've trained themselves to endure. This is their hidden emotional talent, a kind of inner toughness that's both misunderstood and underappreciated. Capricorns don't collapse under pressure. They hold it. They carry the weight no one else can, often without anyone knowing how heavy it really is. Where some signs seek comfort in talking things out, Capricorns often process in silence. They go inward, they reflect, and then they keep going. Through heartbreak, through loss, through failure, through change. They bend, but they don't break. This isn't about being emotionally numb. In fact, many Capricorns feel things deeply. They just don't show it until they trust someone enough to see that side. And even then, it's rare. Not because they're cold, but because they've learned to rely on themselves first. That emotional resilience, it doesn't come from nowhere. Most Capricorns grow up fast. They're the ones who took on responsibility early, the ones who had to be strong for others, the ones who were told to hold it together when they were still learning how to hold themselves. So they did. They held it together, and they never stopped. Now as adults, that early armor becomes quiet strength. In crisis, they become the calm one. In chaos, they stay grounded. In pain, they keep functioning. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they know how to survive what they feel. And yes, that sometimes leads to being misunderstood. People say they're too guarded, too distant, too self-reliant. But what looks like emotional distance is often just emotional discipline. Capricorns don't let emotions rule them. They respect them. And because of that, they can be the steady hand when others fall apart. That's what makes this talent so valuable and so invisible. Emotional endurance doesn't look heroic. It doesn't win awards. But it's a thing that holds families together, saves businesses in a crisis, and keeps people grounded when everything is falling apart. It's strength that whispers instead of shouts, strength that doesn't ask for praise, strength that exists even when no one's watching. So when you meet a Capricorn who seems too serious or too quiet, understand this. They're not avoiding emotion. They've just been carrying it longer than you know. And maybe that's what ties these two talents together, the mind of a strategist and the heart of a survivor. Capricorns don't just plan for the world, they endure it. And once you see that in them, you can't unsee it. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because these aren't the only hidden gifts they carry. Hidden talent number 4, truth radar. By now you might be starting to see a pattern. Capricorns are never loud about what makes them great, but that doesn't mean they go unnoticed. And nowhere is that more true than with hidden talent number 3, silent leadership. We live in a world where leadership is often mistaken for volume. People assume the one talking the most is the one in charge, the one giving orders, the one center stage. But Capricorns flip that narrative completely. They lead without making a show of it. No grand speeches, no forced charisma. They simply do what needs to be done, consistently, competently, and with integrity. And over time, people naturally start to follow. There's something magnetic about that kind of energy. It's grounded, it's reliable. It doesn't demand authority, it earns it. Capricorns don't lead by shouting, they lead by example. You'll find them being the first to show up, the last to complain, and the only one still standing when things get hard. And because of that, they become the person others look to, even when no one officially put them in charge. You see it in friend groups, at work, in families. The Capricorn is often the one people turn to when decisions need to be made, when stability is needed, or when a crisis hits. Not because they asked for power, but because they handle it. This leadership is often quiet, almost invisible, but its effects are lasting. They set a standard without saying a word. They show what's possible just by doing the work. That's what makes Capricorn leadership so different and so powerful. It's not about ego, it's about responsibility. It's about being someone others can trust, not just in good times, but in the hard ones too. And while others may seek applause, Capricorns are more concerned with results. They don't need a spotlight. They just need to know that what they're building is real, solid, and lasting. But here's something most people miss. That ability to lead so effectively, so subtly, isn't just about work ethic or maturity. It's deeply connected to their next hidden gift, hidden talent. Number 4, truth radar. Capricorns have a built-in detector for nonsense, and it's more accurate than most people realize. They're not the type to blindly trust appearances, smooth talkers, or empty hype. Instead, they scan the room. They pick up on inconsistencies. They read tone, timing, and intention. And more often than not, their gut is right. This ability doesn't come from paranoia, it comes from observation. Capricorns are naturally attuned to what doesn't add up. They catch the small things, the pause before an answer, the way someone avoids eye contact, the details that don't match the story. They're not judging, they're noticing. And that ability helps them protect their space, their energy, and their goals. You'll rarely catch a Capricorn being manipulated. They see through games, through false charm, through flattery, not because they're cynical, but because they've learned, often the hard way. Many Capricorns have experienced betrayal early in life. They've trusted people who didn't deserve it. And instead of becoming bitter, they became aware. They studied patterns, they paid attention, and they remembered what the truth feels like and what it doesn't. Now, as adults, that radar is one of their strongest tools. It allows them to choose their circles wisely, to protect their peace, to make decisions based not just on what's being said, but on what's not. It also explains why Capricorns often come across as cautious or reserved around new people. It's not that they're unfriendly, it's that they're listening first, watching, sensing. They know trust is earned, not assumed. And once you earn their trust, you get access to something rare, a loyalty that doesn't flinch and a mind that doesn't miss a thing. That combination, silent leadership and truth detection, is part of what makes Capricorns such anchors in any group. They don't just guide people forward, they guide them honestly, and they do it without needing recognition. In fact, some of the best Capricorns you'll meet are people who've been quietly shaping outcomes, improving systems, and saving others from self-destruction, all without ever saying, "Look what I did." They don't need to say it, they just do it. But that doesn't mean they're immune to pressure, or that their strength is infinite. The truth is, these hidden gifts, especially the emotional and mental ones, can be draining when they're not balanced. When Capricorns are always leading, always detecting, always holding things together, they rarely have a moment to just be. And that's where the next talents come in. Because Capricorns have another layer most don't expect. It's less about leadership and more about perception and transformation. You're about to see how they take everyday situations and turn them into long-term value, how their minds work in patterns, not chaos, and how that shapes everything they touch, from their finances to their relationships. Hidden talent. Number 6, pattern recognition. Capricorns don't just live, they build. And that mindset doesn't stop with career or personal growth. It reaches into every corner of their life, including one area where their hidden power often goes unnoticed: their relationship with value, money, and long-term sustainability. That brings us to hidden talent number 5, financial alchemy. Now let's break that phrase down. Alchemy isn't just turning metal into gold, it's the art of transformation. Capricorns are masters at taking something limited, uncertain, or raw and turning it into something solid, lasting, and real. And nowhere is that more true than with their financial instincts. While other signs might chase quick wins or get pulled in by trends, Capricorns are quietly asking different questions. They're thinking, what's going to last? What's the long game? How do I create security, not just excitement? Even from a young age, many Capricorns are wired this way. They're the ones who save their allowance, think twice before spending, and take pride in making their own money. Not because they're stingy, but because they understand the weight of responsibility. They've often had to grow up fast, and with that comes a natural awareness of resources, how to manage them, multiply them, and protect them. Capricorns don't always chase status, but they do chase stability, and they are willing to sacrifice short-term pleasures to get there. While others are living for the weekend, Capricorns are investing in the foundation, slowly, intentionally, quietly. That doesn't mean they're obsessed with money itself. For most Capricorns, wealth isn't about luxury, it's about freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from instability, freedom to create a life where they don't have to rely on anyone who might let them down. And maybe that's where the alchemy comes in. It's not just about stacking cash, it's about creating a life of independence, a life they've built with their own hands, a life no one can take away. But here's what really makes this a hidden talent. It's not always obvious. Capricorns don't usually brag about what they're building. They don't show off their savings, investments, or quiet hustle. While others are flexing, they're growing silently. And one day, people look up and realize the Capricorn isn't just surviving. They're secure. While the world was chasing noise, they were building value. That's the magic. That's the alchemy. And how do they do it? That leads us into hidden talent number 6, pattern recognition. Capricorns have a mind that works like a scanner, constantly analyzing, constantly observing, constantly connecting dots. They notice trends, habits, inconsistencies, not just in data, but in people, in behavior, in systems. They can sit in a room and pick up on what others miss, not because they're trying to be analytical, but because it's just how their brain works. Let's say you're solving a puzzle. Most people focus on one piece at a time. Capricorns, they're seeing the whole picture, even if it's incomplete. They're holding 5 pieces in their mind, trying different combinations silently, intuitively. That's how they operate in life. This talent shows up in surprising ways. They might be the one in your friend group who always predicts how a situation will unfold, or the one at work who spots the flaw in a plan before it crashes, or the partner who sees emotional shifts before you've even said a word. It's not magic, it's pattern recognition. They've trained themselves to pay attention, to observe without reacting, and to remember what worked, what didn't, and what that means going forward. This isn't just intellectual, it's instinctive. Capricorns are constantly downloading information. They see patterns in people's choices, financial markets, social dynamics, even in energy and timing. And because they're so grounded, they don't just notice patterns, they respond to them with action. This makes them excellent problem solvers. They don't panic when something breaks. They analyze, they troubleshoot. They reverse engineer the issue and find the root cause. That mindset makes them invaluable in crisis situations. While others are scrambling for answers, Capricorns are 5 steps deep into a solution. But here's what's wild. Most Capricorns don't even realize this is a talent. To them, noticing patterns feels normal, logical, obvious. But to everyone else, it looks like intuition, foresight, or even luck. In reality, it's a gift of grounded intelligence and long-term observation. It also explains why Capricorns sometimes seem skeptical or reserved when people bring them big, shiny ideas. If something doesn't follow a sound pattern, if it breaks the logic of what they know works, they're not jumping in, they're stepping back. Capricorns know that what seems exciting today can collapse tomorrow, so they ask the harder questions. They want proof, process, consistency, and sometimes that makes them the voice of reason in rooms full of noise, the grounded one in the group, the person you go to when the glitter fades and you need to figure out what actually works. This ability to track patterns and manage value goes hand in hand. It's how Capricorns build systems. It's how they fix relationships. It's how they protect themselves. And it's how they keep growing even when others think they've already made it. Because to a Capricorn, there's no such thing as arriving. There's only evolving, building better, smarter, stronger every time. That's what makes these 2 talents, financial alchemy and pattern recognition, so quietly powerful. They don't just help Capricorns succeed. They help them sustain that success, adapt when things change, and create lives that aren't dependent on luck, charm, or chaos. And if that sounds like the kind of life you want, even if you're not a Capricorn, these are talents you can learn from, because Capricorn energy isn't about status, it's about stability. And in a world that's constantly shifting, that kind of grounded wisdom is rare and needed more than ever. Hidden talent number 8, time manipulation. If you've made it this far, you're probably starting to realize something important about Capricorns. They are not what most people expect. Beneath the outer layer of discipline, logic, and self-control is a deeper emotional landscape, one that's often private but never shallow. That brings us to hidden talent number 7, emotional translator. Capricorns don't wear their hearts on their sleeves. They don't blurt out their feelings the moment they arise, and they won't flood a conversation with personal drama. At first glance, this makes them seem distant or even detached. But here's the twist. Capricorns are actually some of the most emotionally perceptive people you'll ever meet. They just express it differently. Instead of reacting immediately to what someone says, Capricorns pay attention to what's not being said, the pauses, the body language, the little shifts in tone. They notice when someone is off, even if that person swears they're fine. They sense tension in a room that others overlook. They recognize sadness hiding behind a smile, or anger disguised as silence. Why? Because they've spent their entire lives watching, listening, interpreting. Many Capricorns grew up in environments where emotions were complex, unspoken, or even discouraged. And instead of expressing everything openly, they learn to read between the lines. This makes them incredibly effective in relationships once they feel safe enough to engage. They won't always initiate emotional conversations, but when they do, they go deep. No fluff, no fake comfort, just presence, just truth. They're the ones who sit with you when you're spiraling, not trying to fix you, not judging you, but understanding you. They won't say much at first, but when they do speak, their words hit with clarity and care. That's their talent, translating what you're feeling even when you can't. It's a quiet kind of emotional intelligence. They don't need a therapist's title to play that role for the people they love. They listen without making it about themselves. They hold space. They offer insight that cuts straight to the heart of the matter, not because they're trying to be profound, but because they're simply honest. And when they love someone, they show it in actions more than words. Thoughtful check-ins, remembering the details, making sure you're okay, even if they're not. That's their love language. Practical, steady, emotionally tuned in beneath the surface. But here's the flip side of this gift. It can be exhausting. Always being the emotional translator in a group, the one who understands everyone but rarely feels understood, takes a toll. Capricorns often carry the emotional weight of others in silence, and because they're so good at it, most people never realize how much they're holding. They know what you need, but they rarely get asked what they need. They hold your sadness, but rarely share their own. And while they can translate the feelings of a room, sometimes they forget to check in with their own heart. Still, this emotional fluency is one of the reasons Capricorns are the glue in so many people's lives. They're the rock, the anchor, the one who sees through the noise and reflects something real back at you. If you've ever had a Capricorn understand you better than you understand yourself, you know exactly what I mean. But even with all this depth, even with all this emotional clarity, there's something else about Capricorns that's just as impressive, and maybe even harder to explain. That brings us to hidden talent number 8, time manipulation. Now let's be clear, Capricorns don't actually stretch the clock, but it feels like they do. Have you ever looked at a Capricorn and wondered how they get so much done without burning out? How they manage their responsibilities, their long-term goals, their family obligations, and still find time to read, plan, or work on that secret side hustle? Here's the truth. Capricorns have a relationship with time that's different from most people. They respect it, they don't waste it, and they know how to break it down into structure and momentum. Most people wake up and react to their day. Capricorns design theirs. Whether consciously or not, they're constantly optimizing their time, asking what's essential, what can be skipped, what builds momentum, and what delays progress. They aren't obsessed with being busy. They're obsessed with being effective. It's not just about scheduling, though yes, many Capricorns do have color-coded calendars and neatly stacked to-do lists. It's about purpose. Capricorns don't move just to move. They move with intention. This makes them masters of slow, sustainable progress. While others sprint and burn out, Capricorns walk, they climb, they pace themselves. And because of that, they outlast people who started faster. They're not distracted by hype. They're not seduced by overnight success. They know anything truly meaningful takes time. So they create systems, habits, structures. They make time work for them, not the other way around. And here's where this really becomes a superpower. Capricorns know how to protect their time. They'll say no without guilt. They'll cut out distractions. They'll reorganize their entire week if it means keeping their priorities intact. To some, this comes off as rigid or inflexible. But to Capricorns, it's a form of self-respect. Their time is their life, and they're not wasting either. But even beyond schedules and boundaries, there's something deeper happening here. Capricorns understand timing on a soul level. They know when to wait, when to act, when to plant seeds, when to harvest. They trust the process. They honor the seasons, and they know that slow growth is still growth. That's the magic of this hidden talent. It's part discipline, part instinct. They don't just manage time, they move with it. Like an artist using silence between the notes, they know that how you spend your time is how you shape your life. And when you combine that with emotional translation, with the ability to understand people deeply and manage life intentionally, you start to see how Capricorns create quiet empires. Not because they rush, not because they shout, but because they understand the rhythm of real progress. Still, there's more beneath the surface. Because while we've talked about how Capricorns build and sense and lead, we haven't touched on the force that drives them forward through it all. A force that makes them relentless in pursuit of mastery and unwavering in their loyalty, hidden talent number 10, unshakable loyalty. By now, you've probably noticed something about Capricorns. They don't operate on surface level. Everything they do, from how they manage their time to how they process emotions, runs deeper than it seems. That brings us straight to hidden talent number 9, iron focus. Let's talk about attention. In today's world, focus is rare. Our minds are pulled in 100 directions. Apps buzzing, deadlines looming, messages pinging. Most people jump from task to task, never quite finishing what they start. They chase ideas, abandon them halfway, then start over, hoping this time will be different. Capricorns don't play that game. When a Capricorn sets their sights on something, they lock in, not with frantic urgency, but with steady, unshakable commitment. They don't just want the goal. They're already working backwards from it. They're already mapping out the plan. They've already decided that success isn't optional. And once they're locked in, it's nearly impossible to pull them off track. This isn't stubbornness, it's discipline. It's that iron focus, the ability to tune out noise, ignore distractions, and get back up every single time the plan hits a wall. Capricorns are not afraid of repetition. They know progress doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it looks like showing up at 5 a.m. every day for 6 months, working in silence while the rest of the world sleeps or scrolls or gives up. They don't need hype. They need routine. And when it gets boring, they stay in it. When no one's watching, they still show up. When progress is invisible, they keep going. Because to them, mastery is earned through consistency, not excitement. This kind of focus doesn't always look glamorous. In fact, it often looks invisible. While others are posting about their hustle, Capricorns are doing it quietly, relentlessly. This is why they're dangerous in the best possible way. They don't get distracted by failure, or by praise, or by fear. Once they're in, they're in. That kind of sustained focus becomes a superpower in a world obsessed with instant gratification. And it's not just about work or goals. Their focus shows up in relationships too, which brings us to the next hidden talent. Hidden talent. Number 10, unshakable loyalty. There's a certain kind of loyalty that isn't loud. It doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't shift with the mood, it just is. That's Capricorn loyalty. Here's the truth. Capricorns don't trust easily. They're slow to let people in. They watch, they wait, they test, not in manipulative ways, but in protective ones. Because they've learned that giving their loyalty to the wrong person hurts. And they've been there. But once you earn it, it's real, it's rare, it's unshakable. Capricorns aren't fair-weather friends. They're not situational partners. They're not transactional supporters. When they choose you, really choose you, they mean it. They'll show up when no one else does. They'll back you up even when it's hard. They'll stand beside you, not just when you're winning, but when you're at your lowest, messiest, and most uncertain. And they won't expect anything in return but honesty and effort. This loyalty is rooted in values. Capricorns take commitment seriously, not just in love, but in friendship, family, and collaboration. They see loyalty as a responsibility, not a feeling that comes and goes. And here's what most people miss, that loyalty isn't passive, it's active. It looks like defending you when you're not in the room, protecting your name, holding space for your growth, calling you out when needed, not to hurt you, but to help you become better. Because loyalty for a Capricorn isn't about enabling, it's about believing in someone enough to want them to rise, and staying close enough to help them do it. But make no mistake, If that loyalty is broken, they don't recover quickly. Capricorn hearts don't come with reset buttons. They're cautious to begin with, and if you misuse their trust, they won't explode. They'll detach, not in anger, not in revenge, but in silence, in dignity, in walking away with their pride intact and their loyalty withheld, because they know what it's worth. This unshakable loyalty, paired with their iron focus, is what makes Capricorns so stable, so rare, and, let's be honest, so necessary. They are the ones you call when you want something done right, when you need someone who won't flake, when you want someone who will tell you the truth, stand by your side, and keep their word. These aren't flashy traits. They're not trendy, but they're real, and they create the kind of lives, careers, and relationships that last. When Capricorns love you, they love you with action, and when they commit with everything they've got. That makes them hard to reach, but unforgettable once you do. So what happens when you combine that kind of loyalty with that kind of focus? You get a person who doesn't just show up, they stay. Who doesn't just work hard, they build legacies. Who doesn't just care, they protect. But there's something else that elevates Capricorn energy to a whole new level. Something less about logic or loyalty and more about vision, about how they shape their world, about how they bring beauty, order, and clarity to chaos. Hidden talent number 12, wisdom under pressure. By now, you've seen how Capricorns operate beneath the surface. Their intelligence, their loyalty, their unshakable focus, all quietly shaping the way they move through the world. But there's one part of the Capricorn identity that people often overlook or mistake for something else. It's not always talked about, but once you see it, you'll recognize it everywhere. Let's explore hidden talent number 11, aesthetic discipline. The word aesthetic usually makes people think of art, style, or design. But for Capricorns, it's something deeper. It's about intention, about how the outside reflects the inside. It's not just about making something look good, it's about making something feel right. Capricorns have a natural eye for simplicity, structure, and order. They're drawn to environments that are calm, clean, and functional. You'll often find that their spaces, whether it's a desk, a home, or even their wardrobe, have a certain quiet beauty. Not loud, not extravagant, but intentional. They believe that form follows function, that beauty isn't about excess. It's about clarity, that discipline isn't the opposite of creativity. It's what gives creativity room to breathe. This aesthetic discipline shows up in more ways than you might expect. In their homes, Capricorns gravitate towards structure, not just furniture, but feeling. A place for everything, natural light, clean lines, details that go unnoticed to others but matter deeply to them. Because for a Capricorn, the space they're in affects how they think. If the environment is chaotic, the mind feels blocked. So they create order, not just to impress, but to function. In their work, this talent becomes even more powerful. Capricorns are often behind-the-scenes perfectionists. The layout of a document, the structure of a presentation, the color palette of a brand, the way a project flows from start to finish. These things matter to them, not because they're nitpicky, but because they know how small details shape big outcomes. They don't need to shout their vision, they just live it. Even in how they dress, Capricorns often reflect this disciplined aesthetic. You'll rarely see them in chaotic trends or desperate attempts to be noticed. Instead, their style is sharp, timeless, effortlessly put together. It may seem simple, but it's full of thought. And again, it's not about status, it's about intention. Does this feel like me? Does this serve the moment I'm walking into? That's the Capricorn filter, understated but razor sharp. This talent is especially powerful because it brings order to the abstract. Capricorns make things work. They don't just create, they refine. They bring grounded structure to creative chaos, and that's something rare. But while they may seem calm and composed on the outside, there's a whole different kind of strength brewing beneath the surface, one that only shows up when things fall apart. That brings us to hidden talent number 12, wisdom under pressure. This one's big. We've all seen what happens when life gets hard. when plans unravel, when things go wrong, when emotions get high. Some people panic, some shut down, some lash out. Capricorns, they center. It's one of the most powerful and often invisible gifts they have. They don't just stay calm for the sake of appearances. They have the ability to absorb chaos without letting it shatter them. And more importantly, they make wise decisions when the pressure is on. Capricorns have a kind of internal anchor. When the storm hits, they don't deny it, but they don't let it toss them around either. They breathe, they assess, they go inward, and when they emerge, they're ready to lead. This wisdom isn't theoretical, it's hard-earned. Most Capricorns have been through things that tested their limits. They've failed, they've fallen, they've faced disappointment, betrayal, and grief, and instead of letting it define them, they learned from it. This is where their strength becomes stillness. They don't always have the answers right away, but they won't make things worse just to feel in control. They'll wait for clarity. They'll ask better questions. They'll respond instead of react. And in that quiet pause, they often see solutions no one else sees. That's the heart of this hidden talent, the ability to think clearly when others can't. When everyone's running in circles, Capricorns start drawing maps. When people are spinning out, Capricorns start organizing. When emotions are overwhelming, they create space. And in that space, wisdom emerges. This is why Capricorns often become the go-to in moments of crisis. Not because they signed up for it, but because they can handle it. They become the steady voice, the calm center, the one person who can take all the moving parts and say, here's what we're going to do. And it's not just problem solving, it's perspective. Capricorns have the ability to zoom out, to look at the long arc of things. They won't make a decision just to feel better today if they know it'll cost them tomorrow. That kind of patience is rare. That kind of clarity is earned. Even when they're hurting, even when they're scared, even when they feel lost, they still find a way to be wise. This is the final hidden talent on our list, and maybe the most important one of all. Because when everything's falling apart, Capricorns aren't just trying to survive, they're asking, how do I grow from this? And then they do. Now that you've seen all 12 of these hidden Capricorn talents, from the quiet strength of emotional endurance to the sharp wisdom under pressure, the real question is, how many of them live in you? We've covered a lot. And if you've made it all the way here, first of all, thank you. It means something when someone takes the time to go deeper, to really understand, not just the surface traits of a zodiac sign, but the hidden talents that define how someone moves, feels, builds, and lives. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we just uncovered. We started with number 1, Master Strategist, the quiet way Capricorns see the future before anyone else does, planning with patience instead of chasing chaos. Then we moved into number 2, Emotional Endurance, that rare strength to stay standing while others fall apart, to feel deeply without needing to be loud about it. Number 3 brought us Silent Leadership, leading not with ego but with example, the kind of leadership that earns trust, not demands it. Then there was number 4, Truth Radar, the Capricorn's almost psychic ability to see through lies, masks, and false intentions long before they're exposed. With number 5, we discovered Financial Alchemy, the magic of turning little into much, scarcity into stability. Number 6 revealed their gift of pattern recognition, the mind that sees through the mess and notices the rhythm, the structure, the signs. Then came number 7, Emotional Translator, the ability to understand what others can't even say, followed by number 8, Time Manipulation, where they stretch the hours and make every minute matter through discipline and structure. We uncovered number 9, Iron Focus, that relentless tunnel vision that keeps them going when the rest of the world gives up. And number 10, Unshakable Loyalty, the rarest kind of commitment, the kind that doesn't just say I'm here, but shows up again and again, especially when it's hardest. And finally, we explored number 11, Aesthetic Discipline, Capricorn's eye for clarity, beauty, and order, the ability to bring peace to spaces and function to chaos. Then we closed with number 12, Wisdom Under Pressure, perhaps their most admirable trait, the gift of staying clear, centered, and wise, even when the world is falling apart. Now here's the real question. Did you see yourself in any of these? Maybe you're a Capricorn, and this video made you feel more seen than ever. Maybe you're not, but you carry some of these traits. Maybe you're learning from a Capricorn, dating one, working with one, being raised by one. Or maybe you're starting to realize that Capricorn energy isn't just for people born in late December or early January. Maybe it's a way of moving through the world, a way of showing up, a way of being steady, smart, real, and committed in a world full of noise. And if that's the kind of content you want more of, deeper zodiac insights, real conversations, powerful self-reflection, we've got you covered. This is Secret of the Zodiac, and we're building a community that sees beyond cliches, beyond horoscopes, beyond quick quotes and meme astrology. We're here for the real stuff, for the gifts that live under the surface. So if you felt connected to this, we'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait. Seriously, if even one part of this video spoke to you, subscribing is the best way to support the kind of content you actually want to see more of. Give this video a like, not just for the algorithm, but because it tells us, yes, this is what I needed. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Tell us, which of these 12 Capricorn talents surprised you? Which one felt like you? Do you know a Capricorn who matches this energy? Or maybe, which talent are you working on in your own life right now? We want this to be the most commented video on the channel. Let's turn the comment section into a space where Capricorn energy is respected, celebrated, and shared. Whether you're a Capricorn sun, moon, rising, or just learning to move like one, you're welcome here. And finally, if this video helped you see yourself more clearly, or if you simply believe in supporting independent creators making meaningful content like this, we'd be incredibly grateful if you considered supporting this channel through Super Thanks. It's that little heart icon with the $sign under the video. Any contribution, big or small, helps us keep creating more videos like this every single day. No team, no studio, just passion and purpose. Your support helps cover the time, energy, research, editing, scripting, everything it takes to bring this kind of quality to your screen. It helps us grow, and it helps this channel stay alive in a sea of content that often forgets what matters. So whether it's $1 or 10, your super thanks makes a real difference. Thank you for being part of this journey. We'll see you in the comments and in the next video, right here on Secret of the Zodiac. Until then, keep showing up like a Capricorn, grounded, focused, and quietly powerful.